Narcissists are notorious for twisting pretty much everything that you say to them. But in this video, I'm gonna really hone in on, focus on 5 things that you should never say to a narcissist. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I am not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. Now, I want to be clear that I really try not to tell people what to do. My goal with this channel is more to clear things up and help people make sense out of nonsense, to understand the behavior that can be so perplexing so that you can be better equipped to deal with it, so that you can understand why certain things are happening. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. You really are the one that has the last say in the decisions in your life, and you're the one that decides what you will or will not say to the narcissists in your life. These are just some things that I realized were things that I would never want to say to any narcissist, and I'll explain why. The first thing that you should never say to a narcissist is, "I forgive you." And I actually did a whole video on this concept called "Narcissists Don't Want Forgiveness." And this might throw you off a little at the beginning of the video if you're in no space to forgive the narcissist in your life. But if you ever come to a point where you do feel like you're ready to forgive, or you want to at least consider the idea of forgiveness, it might be natural to consider expressing your forgiveness to the narcissist, and I want to caution you against doing this. For a detailed explanation, I encourage you to go watch the video I just mentioned, but basically, if you forgive a narcissist, if you try to express forgiveness towards a narcissist, you're suggesting that they've done something that needs to be forgiven. And this is a huge insult to them. It's really an exercise in bending our minds around this way of looking at the world, because I think for most of us, we recognize enough when we've hurt someone that we appreciate when forgiveness is extended towards us. But from a narcissist's point of view, even if they have just done the most terrible, abusive, unfair, destructive, cruel things to you, they don't look at it that way. They think that they're the victim. So if you were to tell a narcissist, "I forgive you," to them, it hits them in the same way that it would hit you if, after all the terrible things they did to you, they told you that they forgive you. And ironically, I think a lot of us have probably heard this. A lot of us have probably had a narcissist pretty much ruin our life and then tell us that they forgive us. And so a lot of us probably know exactly how that feels. And a narcissist actually is going to feel that way when we try to express forgiveness towards them, because they refuse to acknowledge that they've done anything that needs to be forgiven. So I just want to caution people against getting like this fantasy in their head that they're going to express forgiveness towards somebody that is so disconnected from their own humanity, somebody that is so ruthless and shameless and cruel and so wrapped up in their ego that they can't appreciate or even get to the point where they recognize the need to be forgiven. So reaching out to forgive them is just an insult. I mean, if you want to insult them, then go ahead and tell them that you forgive them, but there's really no point to doing that. The next thing that you should never tell a narcissist is, "I think you're a narcissist." This is a big one. I think a lot of us, and I can certainly understand this position, getting to a point where you realize, where the light bulb goes off and you put all the pieces together and you realize this is narcissism, this confusing, perplexing behavior, these endless arguments that go nowhere, this puzzle I've been trying to put together. It's narcissism. This person's a narcissist. That's the answer to all these questions. And I think it's natural when we're still emotionally wrapped up in the relationship and we're still kind of reeling from trying to figure out what we're going to do now that we've figured this out. It's natural to think, well, maybe if I can somehow get the narcissist to understand that he or she is a narcissist, they'll get help. They'll realize they have a problem. They need help. And There are many reasons that this is just a really bad idea. Pathological narcissism is set up in a perfect way that prevents the narcissist from seeing that they're a narcissist. They would have a much easier time convincing you that you're the narcissist. In fact, many abuse victims of narcissistic abuse question whether or not they are a narcissist because of the mirroring effect of the abuse and the way that the gaslighting works. It's really easy for abuse victims to start wondering if maybe they're a narcissist. So a narcissist would actually have a much easier time convincing you that you're a narcissist than you would have convincing them. And also, considering telling a narcissist that they're a narcissist is assuming that they would care. Narcissists aren't interested in taking any accountability for themselves in any way, shape, or form. Even if they realize that they're a narcissist, they're still going to expect to be the exception to every rule. They're going to expect everybody else to bend around the way they already are. They don't want to change. They don't want help. They don't want to figure out this big problem they have and go solve it. They don't want to do that. They want you to just deal with it. They want you to just put up with the way they are. They don't see why they should change. They see every reason that you should be the one to change. And of course, telling somebody that they're a narcissist, and I know this can get really kind of controversial, but in a sense, you're really diagnosing them with something, and you really don't have the credentials to tell somebody to their face that you think they have a disorder that you're really not qualified to tell them that you think they have. Now, I know that many of us, and myself included, can get to a point where we personally feel certain that the person we're dealing with is a pathological narcissist. And I completely support that. I mean, I've experienced it. But I think it's a completely different thing to look somebody in the eye and tell them that you think they have a disorder. A narcissist is going to recognize that you don't have the qualifications to diagnose them with things, and they're going to use every excuse in the book to ignore what you're saying. Instead of telling a narcissist that you think he or she is a narcissist, rewind a little bit and think about the reasons that you think that they're a narcissist and focus on those things. Instead of saying, I think you're a narcissist, it's much more constructive to say, we argue endlessly and the arguments never go anywhere no matter how hard I try. Now, that's just an example of ways that you could be specific about the actual problems, because really being a narcissist isn't really the problem that destroys the relationship. It's all the things that the narcissist does. So focus on those things. But now that I've said all of that, don't even bother. You know, narcissists are never going to change. They're never going to stop doing all of those awful things that they do that destroy the relationship. So there's really no point in telling them that they're a narcissist. They don't care. And even though it's more constructive to focus on the specific problems that have convinced you that they are a narcissist, that's not going to do you any good either. It really is best to just accept that that's the way they are and walk away. The third thing that you should never say to a narcissist is, please. I don't really have a phrase to express this, but basically pleading for anything. I mean, getting down on your knees and pleading with them, please, won't you please just tell me the truth? Won't you please just give me a break on this? Won't you please just let me have a night of peace? Or maybe it could just be something a little less upsetting than that. Just, please, can you just do the shopping for me just this one time? Please, can you just do the laundry tonight just this one time? Whatever it is you're asking them. When you plead with a narcissist, when you beg them for things, they really like that. It really feeds their ego, and it kind of creates a trap for you. If you're pleading with a narcissist for something, you're creating a situation that they are going to want to replicate because they like it when you're begging for things. So the last thing in the world they're going to do is give you what you're begging for. They don't have any empathy for you in these kinds of situations, remember. So you're begging and pleading, maybe you're crying, maybe you're at the end of your rope and you're just hoping for a little bit of mercy. there is none. They do not care about how their behavior affects you. They do not care about your pain at all. So when you're begging and pleading, all they see is a power trip. All they see are some useful tools that they can use to manipulate you. So you might wonder, well, what do you do when you really need something from a narcissist and they just aren't listening, and you are to the point where you have to beg and plead? And why do you think these relationships fall apart? I've been in plenty of long-term, all types of relationships with narcissistic people, and for me, in the situations I was in, I just had to accept that there were certain things that were just not going to be the way that I wanted or needed them to be, that my feelings just weren't going to be considered. And if I had to beg and plead for something, it just wasn't going to happen. And I just had to accept that to be able to continue living in the situation I was in. And of course, that's why these relationships eventually fall apart, because they really become intolerable. The fourth thing that you should never say to a narcissist is, "I'm sorry." And we could probably tie this together with the first thing you're never supposed to say, which is, "I forgive you," because this really comes from a space of healing from something. Now, I'm not talking about "I'm sorry" like you bumped into them when you went around the corner and, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm talking about when you've really made a mistake, or when they insist that you've really made a mistake, when they're really upset with you, when they're shaming you for something, or when maybe you really have done something that you need to apologize for. Now, if you want to apologize to a narcissist for something that you genuinely feel you did wrong, do it for yourself, because apologizing to a narcissist is going to do nothing for the narcissist, even if you owe them an apology for something. When you tell a narcissist that you are sorry about something that you've done, the narcissist finds an opportunity in that for something to hold over your head. You're basically handing them something that they can use to shame you with, to manipulate you with, to guilt you with later. You're admitting that you've done something terrible that you now need to be punished for, and they are going to take advantage of that, and they are going to look at it that way. They see apologies as a weakness. Only weak people apologize. Only people that deserve to be punished and shamed would apologize. Save your apologies for people that are actually going to appreciate them. Narcissists will only use them against you. And the fifth thing that you should never say to a narcissist is anything more than once. It's really easy to get caught in the trap of explaining things to narcissists, going around in circles, endless circles for hours and hours, trying to get simple concepts across to them, and wondering how somebody that has a seemingly normal level of intelligence can have such an incredibly difficult time grasping simple, basic concepts. Narcissists will refuse to listen to you, or they will misunderstand what you're saying. They'll spin you around in circles. They will misdirect you. They will change the subject. They will gaslight you. Trying to explain things to them that they don't want to understand is one of the most maddening, frustrating experiences on earth. Narcissists will accuse you of things that you definitely didn't do. They'll accuse you of things that you can prove are not true. But every bit of information, every bit of evidence you try to show them, every explanation you try to offer, they're always going to have a way to turn it back around on you because they don't care about the truth. If you don't care about the truth, if you're accusing somebody of something that you know they didn't actually do, and you're not accusing them of it because you think they actually did it, you're accusing them of it because you're trying to manipulate them and shame them, well, you're not going to respond to any evidence that they show you. You're not going to respond to any proof of anything because that wasn't the point in the first place. Narcissists don't care about the truth. They don't care about what you actually did. They care about how they feel about you. And if they feel like punishing you and shaming you and manipulating you, that's all they're going to focus on. So when you sit and try to explain things to them and you end up repeating yourself over and over, you're kind of assuming that they can't hear you. Well, they can hear you just fine. And they really love trapping you in these whirlpools of emotional confusion. The best solution for this is to explain yourself or to state your opinion or state your truth one time and let it go at that. If you tell them what you believe or you tell them what the facts are, you say something like, I'm not sure why you think that, but the truth is blah, 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 and you just leave it at that. Or, I'm sorry you feel that way, I don't agree. Or, you have a right to your opinion, but I have a different one. Or, we both know that that's not what happened. Statements like these should be the last thing that you say, because if you keep repeating these ideas, you keep trying to back them up, you keep trying to convince somebody that doesn't want to be convinced of what you're saying, you're the one that's going to end up upset and confused and frustrated and probably completely exhausted after an hours-long pointless argument or discussion that goes absolutely nowhere. So unless they actually didn't hear the words that you said, there's no reason in the world for you to ever have to tell a narcissist the same thing twice. Now, I'd really be interested in your input. If there's anything that you've ever said to a narcissist that you realize later, you know, I should have just not said that thing. I'd be really interested to hear about it in the comments below. And I want to thank you all for listening. Again, these are just suggestions that I've learned the hard way in my life. You're welcome to try telling narcissists these things and let me know how that goes as well. Really, I think we can all learn together the things that we should or shouldn't say to narcissists in order to keep the peace in our own lives. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.